What's up, you guys? It's Graham here, and you better buckle up because the entire car market is fucked. For the first time ever in history, the average price of a new car is about to surpass $50,000. Auto loan payments are exceeding $745 a month, and with interest rates near their all-time highs, Americans are now officially beginning to fall behind on their payments. This is why it's so important that we break down exactly why cars have become America's #1 wealth killer, why used car prices are spiking again, and then what the data says is most likely going to happen over the next year, because there are 3 points that you need to be made aware of if you want to save a ton of money. Although before we start, if you appreciate videos like this or even find them helpful, it would mean the world to me if you gave the like button a little gas or subscribed if you haven't done that already. I know it's annoying when I ask for it, but I promise it's going to be a smooth ride. And as a thank you for doing that, I promise to stop making bad car puns. So thanks so much, and also a big thank you to Helium Mobile for sponsoring this video, but more on that later. Alright, so first of all, we gotta talk about the boogeyman for anybody who owns a vehicle, and that would be depreciation. Like, here's the thing, for the longest time, when you think about car prices, you'd imagine a chart like this. In a normal market, a new car is expected to lose anywhere from 9 to 18% the moment you drive it off the lot. And then from there, prices continue to fall by an additional 10 to 20% a year until after 5 years of ownership, you're left with about 40% of the price that you paid. Because of a shortage of auto manufacturing, a limited supply of parts, record low interest rates, and a surge of demand, used car prices began to defy the laws of gravity by going up in price. For instance, in 2021, used car prices were 40% higher than the year prior, meaning back then you could literally go and buy a car, drive it around for free, and then sell it a few years later for a massive profit. And at the height of the shortage, the average vehicle was priced 9.9% above MSRP, all thanks to high demand and limited supply. Yet, like as of now, new cars are still $12,000 more expensive than they were a few years ago. The typical family would have to spend 70 to 80% of their entire year's pay just to buy a vehicle at today's prices, which is double from what it used to be in 1990. And all of this simply means that car prices are outpacing incomes, more buyers than ever have payments that exceed $1,000 a month, and we have a new category that's absolutely out of control, and that would be skyrocketing debt. See, when buyers purchase a car, the vast majority of them are financed. In fact, 85% of new car purchases are bought with debt, along with 55% of used car purchases. And what makes this so unique is that, unlike real estate, auto loans are not subject to strict underwriting requirements, allowing pretty much anyone to get financed for a new vehicle if they really want to drive off in a new car. You know, I mentioned this before, but the situation got so bad that in late 2021, Jalopnik ran a story about just how easy it was to get approved for a loan, and just how predatory lenders have become, calling it a true wild, wild west and a poorly regulated wasteland. In this case, their investigation found that borrowers in every credit score category were given loans with APRs that ranged from 0% to more than 25%. Or in other words, buyers with great credit scores were being funneled into high interest rate loans with interest rates that were more than double the average, since they were just desperate to get into a new car. On top of that, 25 to 50% of loans were given to customers who might not have been able to afford them. And to make matters worse, lenders rarely verified income and employment to borrowers to confirm they had the sufficient income to repay the loan. Of the loans Consumer Reports looked at, these verifications happened just 4% of the time. This has now resulted in 5% of all auto loans in the United States being more than 90 days behind on their payments. Subprime loans have hit a record high delinquency rate, and 39% of all buyers are underwater on their purchase, meaning they owe more on the car than what the car is actually worth. How is this allowed to happen? Well, I'll let you in on a little secret. Contrary to popular belief, an Iowa law review found that over the last 10 years, car dealerships have begun making more profits from the financing of cars rather than from the cars themselves, meaning they have a direct financial interest in you taking out as big of a loan as you possibly can, because that's actually how they make their money, not from selling cars. Auto loan balances have increased to $1.64 trillion, which is now the second highest debt category after mortgages. In fact, people have taken out so much money just to buy a car, that auto debt has increased 70% in the last decade. So to compensate for that, people are forced to take out longer loans just to stretch out their payment to a manageable level. Or in other words, instead of taking out a $30,000 loan for 4 years pre-pandemic, which equates to $690 a month, they're now taking out a $50,000 loan for 8 years. So this way, their monthly payment stays relatively the same, even though behind the scenes, this results in more debt, more interest, and less equity.